Hello, this is question 8 on June 2022, paper 2 from AQA. You have to sketch the graph of y equals 1 over x squared. This graph is doing something like this. I think sometimes it's difficult to remember in which quadrants these reciprocal graphs are. So my recommendation is that you remember that they do something like this, or something like this, or like this, or like this, yeah? And then you can just always check with a value to decide in which quadrant they are. As long as you know that they have asymptote and more or less how they look like. If you're not very sure which of the graphs is, you can just check a value. So when x is 1, for example, you see that this is going to be 1 positive. So when x is 1, y is 1, I'm going to be here in this quadrant. When x is minus 1, y is going to be 1. So minus 1, 1, I'm going to be in this quadrant, yeah? So my graph is here and here. So it's not difficult to do, yeah? Then for B, they say the graph y equal 1 over x squared can be transformed onto this graph 9 over x squared using a stretch in one direction. Beth thinks the stretch should be in the y direction. Paul thinks the stretch should be in the x direction. I think your impression and my impression too is that this is just very simple. It's just 9fx. So if this is fx, this one is going to be 9fx, and this is a stretch in the vertical direction. But look at what they ask. They say, state, given a reason for your answer, whether Beth is correct, Paul is correct, or both are correct, so, or neither is correct. So I think this question is unusual. So if they ask you if both are correct, I would think twice. Yeah. So Paul thinks the stretch should be in the x direction. Think if that's possible, because that could be. You have a number here that is a square number, and you have a square here. So if you realize that you can write that as 1 over x divided by 3 squared, yeah, you are really doing f of x over 3. Yeah, so when you do f of x over 3, what you are doing is 1 over x over 3 squared, which becomes 9 over x squared. And this is a stretch in the x direction. Yeah, we are multiplying our function by scale factor 3, always the reciprocal. So this is what Paul is saying. This is what Beth is saying. So both of them are correct. Yeah, so I would say both are correct. Both are correct. Beth is doing 9fx, while Paul is doing f of x divided by 3. Yeah, I think it's a bit tricky question because maybe you don't realize at this bit. Yeah, and that's all with this question.